Guys, wait a second, this is really important. I want to make a deal with you. If this video gets, let's say, 200 views, I would love if 10% of you, at least 10% of you, that would mean about 20 people, to go follow me on Twitch so my channel and my content can grow a little bit faster. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed another copyright strike. So let's actually do some reactions, y'all. What do you want to react to? What do you want me to react to? I think I want to do some geography now. I know there were people asking me, yo, can you do the Spain one? And I wanted to do it so badly, but the truth is, it was over 3 months ago. I hope it's not too late. I hope y'all share it. And let's go. Let's do this. Like, when you're in Mexico, kind of the history of Spain and the history of Mexico is very tied, especially at a particular point. Spain is a very old country with a lot of culture. Of course, Spain actually is a fairly new country. It was multiple kingdoms in Europe, and then it sort of got mixed up, and it became Spain. And in school, you don't really learn about this. You really don't learn much about Spain's history, at least to the point of when Christopher Columbus discovers America. Then you start to learn a little bit about Spain, and you actually learn a little bit of French history because of Napoleon, because it's very important to Mexican history. Napoleon invades Spain, and because of it, the colonies, the Spanish colonies, start to revolt and see it as an opportunity to gain independence. Of course, it's war, and here we are now. So, without further ado, I don't want to make this video really long, so let's just go for it, right? I'm gonna go full screen in this one. Oh.
This country, along with France and Italy, it is one of the 3 powerhouse Latin countries of Europe. Portugal, we love you, man. You're cool and awesome, but let's be real.
Portugal
was the mini boss before the. Okay, I'll just stop right there. Yeah. Anyway, over 500 million people across the world speak Spanish, and if you include the mestizos, a huge chunk of that population have actual descendants and ancestors from Spain. So it's not just language; it's also genetically, Spain got busy and made a big ass family across the world. In any case, welcome to the original kingpin of the Hispanic world, Spain.
Yep. Spain is the motherland. That's how a lot of us see it. Of course, it depends on, not all Mexicans are the same, and a lot of Mexicans do live a lot more traditional lives. A lot of Mexicans speak actually the native languages from here. And, some people see it more, some people see it less. I honestly just see us, Mexico, as a blend of cultures, including the Spanish culture. And a lot of us, like me, have genetically a lot of material from Spain. There was a comment, actually, I hope you're watching the video. I don't remember. I think it was a lady, but I don't remember who it was. And she said, hey, maybe you should do a DNA test and find out if you're actually Spaniard, or maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm something else. I do know that I have Slavic ancestry as well, but other than that, I have no idea what I am.
It's time to learn geography.
No! Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbs. Don't forget to get Geography Now merch at geographynow.com. So Spain. Everything from the freezing glaciers of Patagonia to the freezing glaciers of Alaska have at some point been imprinted upon by the notorious.
Look at this empire, bro. This is quite boss. Yeah, I mean pretty much the entire continent, including over half of the US. So I'm sure a lot of you have noticed that, this part of the U.S. Has a lot of Spanish names.
Spanish for that. Seal. And of course, it's always great to have people from the country in the country episodes. And with that, here's Jose and Anna. Say hi to them.
Hello, everyone.
Whoa.
Hi.
All right, so where are you guys from?
I'm Anna, and I'm from Valencia.
I'm Jose, and I'm from Catalonia, from a town called Blanes.
Uh-oh, Valencia, Catalonia. What's going on? Something about paella.
We got a couple of Spaniards.
All right, so shall we comenzamos?
No.
No? Well, I'll make it up to you guys with some cervezas.
Not close.
Okay. Sí, I got it. Okay.
If a lot of you are kind of wondering, there is a considerable difference between the Spanish accents. Including Spain, and we understand each other obviously most of the time, but at least me, when I meet someone from, let's say, Chile, Peru, Argentina, and even Spain. You know, I prefer them to speak slowly. And me personally, when I talk to them, I also speak slowly and try not to use many words from Mexico. It's kind of like British English and American English. Like there's some words that in America maybe have a different meaning, and in British, the same thing. In Mexico and Spain and the other countries, it's kind of the same. So I try to speak very slowly and a very standard Spanish, if that sort of thing exists.
Oh my god, you're lucky we're here, because if not, you will be f***ing it up all the time.
This is so interesting. This is the first time I've had two hosts on the show at the same time. Like, we're all like
kind of
bumping into each other. Oh well. Now, we've covered a lot of countries that have loose forms of administrative division within their political regions, but with Spain, I kind of see it like a teacher with a really rowdy classroom. It's like,
hey, you kids, you stop that! Galicia! Hey, you stop talking to Portugal. Basque Navarre, I don't know what you're talking about. Rioja, you stop drinking wine. Extremadura, do you even exist? Valencia, hey, you stop burning everything right now.
Catalonia's trying to jump out the window.
What? Oh, get here, you little...
no, but for real, the people in Spain just know who they are and they own it.
And with that, let's go to the animation.
All right, Spain is located in Western Europe, taking up about 82% of the Iberian Peninsula, shared with Portugal to the west, the Bay of Biscay to the north, and to the south, subsections of the Mediterranean, known as the Balearic and Alboran Seas, and inland, the Pyrenees Mountains separate them from France and Andorra. Keep in mind, they even have this small little exclave in France called Yvia, cut off by about 1.6 kilometers of space to the Spanish border on the N154 highway. Up north on the Bidasoa River, Spain also shares an island with France called Isla de los Faisanes, or Pheasant Island, in which the sovereignty switches every 6 months. Those aren't the only countries that border them, though. In the southeast, by La Linea de la Concepcion,
Gibraltar,
you find this
yes.
peninsula, Gibraltar, which is actually an overseas territory of the UK that they...
By the way, is this an airport? Wow, Gibraltar is so small, yet it has an airport. That's cool. I mean, good for them, right?
have had since 1713 with the Treaty of Utrecht. In addition, Spain also has the Plazas de Soberanía, or strongholds of sovereignty.
Those British really like holding up territories, huh? I mean, they couldn't get a hold of Hong Kong, but, you know, they still hold Gibraltar.
Historical places in northern Africa that date back to the inception of modern Spain in the 15th century, and they hold on to. They include the two exclave autonomous cities of Ceuta and Melilla, which are effectively attached to Morocco. In addition, there are also 8 other islands and one peninsula known as Peñón de Vélez de la Gomera. The peninsula is divided by a 100-meter wide sand bridge, which makes it one of the shortest international borders in the world. From there, Spain also has 2 main archipelagos, the Canary Islands off the coast of Morocco, and again, of course, the Balearic Islands in the Mediterranean. Due to the positioning of the Canary Islands, this gives Spain 2 time zones, UTC 0 and +1. With that, Spain breaks down a little interesting. The country is classified as a decentralized unitary state in which, although sovereignty is vested in one nation, the regional institutions hold their own high degree of self-governance and have their own parliaments and presidents. These 17 entities are called autonomous communities, or autonomies in short. Ceuta and Melilla are categorized as autonomous cities and have the right to become communities, but so far have not expressed interest in doing so. The capital and most populous city and highest capital in Europe is Madrid, in the center of the country. Like, literally it is. There's even a floor plaque called the Puerta del Sol, which serves as kilometer 0 for all the roads and train networks that radiate outwards from the central hub. And of course, Madrid holds the biggest and busiest airport, Adolfo Suarez Madrid Barajas International. From there, the second largest city is Barcelona on the Mediterranean coast, where the second busiest airport can be found, Barcelona El Prat International. From there, the busiest shipping port is the port of Algeciras Bay, where over 100 million tons of cargo pass annually. Finally, fun fact, some parts of Spain are actually antipodes of New Zealand, which means they are literally located exactly across the entire planet from each other.
So, fun fact, Canary Islands are not named after canaries, but rather dogs, because of the Latin can.
Which means dog.
What means dog?
Like
exactly.
canine.
That was marginally interesting.
Now, we're not going to dive too much into it.
That was marginally interesting.
It would take forever, but...
Why so many autonomies? Well, historically, Spain had a few major kingdoms before they unified. And this is basically how they separate places that either have a very distinct people group versus places that are more in sync with Madrid's centralized power.
And speaking of which it's forced, Spain is a monarchy. Yes, one of the 12 monarchies of Europe.
Basically, most people will say it all started when Isabella de Castile married Ferdinand of Aragon, unifying the 2 biggest powerhouses of the Iberian Peninsula.
even though they kind of pissed off the Pope because they were second cousins and did not dispensate their marriage, which led them to cursing the Spanish people for all eternity. But then they waited for the next Pope and he dispensated their marriage. So anyway.
The point is, after millennia of going through the Phoenicians, Romans, the Suevi, whatever those guys were, Vandals and Alans, Visigoths, the Moors, and Umayyads, modernish Spain started to take shape in the 1400s.
European history is so interesting, bro. Like, so interesting. It's so large. If you're from Europe, tell me, how do you learn all that stuff? You know, in Mexico, it's like, okay, you know, here's the Aztecs, here's the Mayans, then, you know, Spain came and fucked everyone, and here we are now. That's it. And American history, it's also quite simple. You know, you've got some tribes, then Jamestown happens, and 13 colonies, and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's very simple if you honestly think about it. But European history, bro, like, is so complex. If you're from Germany, for example, like, how do you learn German history, really? I mean, the parts of the Holy Roman Empire were not part of what we now know as Germany. So it's I don't know. It's complicated, but it's so interesting and fascinating, and there's plenty that I don't know.
With a reconquista, or reconquering.
And from there, the story gets crazier.
How so?
You sure you're not bored with all this history stuff?
Normally I would be, but all the pictures and the fast meta talk holds my attention and makes me think I'm learning.
Thank you for revealing my script writing structure, but anyway, fine, if you insist. After the Reconquista, the sexy Habsburgs slipped into the royal family because that's what they did throughout everybody in Europe.
And when their line ended, the House of Bourbon, a French dynasty, slipped in. And here we are today with Philippe VI and his daughter, Princess Leonor, next in line.
In any case, Spain is a travel hotspot. They are literally the second most visited country on Earth after France, with more than 83 million people recorded as of 2019.
It's important to know that Spain has third highest number of UNESCO World Heritage Sites at 48. The Autonomy of Andalusia has the most at 7.
Now we all know some of the obvious UNESCO sites, like the Alhambra, the Great Mosque of Cordoba,
Really?
the Guggenheim.
Are these obvious? I understand. I mean, I knew the mosque, but the other ones, I honestly didn't know one.
The Sagrada Familia Church,
which has been under construction for like 130 years. It would take way
Talk
too
about
long to
failed
cover all the
projects.
UNESCO sites, but here's a list of some non-UNESCO sites you guys suggested we mention in the episode. The Royal Palace in Madrid,
Centenil de las Bodegas,
Valencia's Arts and Science
wow.
districts.
theme parks like Portaventura and Parque Warner and Texas Hollywood.
the Canary Islands have pyramids, mummies, and the Neptune statue.
The wooden mushroom thing in Seville, Metropole Parasol.
Madrid claims to have the oldest continuously operating restaurant in the world.
Cádiz is the oldest city.
And fake Germany, Mallorca, and
Fake Germany.
UK, Ibiza.
And so on.
Oh,
Yeah,
bro,
that
I've
list
heard about Ibiza. I really want to go there so badly.
doesn't even give Spain justice because it's not even a small fraction of the big picture. One part of that picture, though, is the landscape and resources. Which brings us to...
So since Spain has territories in Africa, the ocean, and Europe, it's transcontinental, so we have like many different landscapes.
But come on, that's BS. I mean, you can't be transcontinental just because you have a little city on Africa. I mean, that's kind of like cheating. You know, Russia is a truly transcontinental. Fuck, even Turkey, who, you know, it's mostly in Asia, but has like a little bit in Europe. Okay, you know, that bit, it still has Istanbul, so that's huge. But come on, Spain.
Like, we even have a restaurant that cooks food over an active volcano.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's go to the animation.
First of all, for the continental part, the country is incredibly mountainous. In fact, the second most mountainous country in Europe after Switzerland. The country has 6 main ranges: the Betic chain in the south, the Central and Iberian chains in the center, the Cantabrian and Leon chains in the north, and the Pyrenees in the northwest, with the border of France and Andorra. In the center, you have the Meseta Central Plateau, a wide highland that stretches wide across the interior. As you can clearly see from space, the northern part of Spain has the most lush green wet zones, and as you head south, the country obviously gets more dry and arid. In fact, Spain has the only true desert of mainland Europe, the Tabernas Desert, located in Andalusia, which holds the highest temperatures of mainland Europe at over 40 degrees Celsius in the summer. These mountains are essentially a byproduct of Spain being located right at the confluence of the African and Eurasian tectonic plates, creating a slew of minor rifts and fault lines. This means the southern part of Spain may occasionally experience earthquakes above 6 on the Richter scale, and certain areas mostly along the Mediterranean have extinct volcanoes. The most active volcanic area of the country, though, would actually be the Canary Islands, which lie on an interplate volcanic region on the African plate. Geologists mostly agree that the
It's kind of like Hawaii.
Islands were created by the plates moving over a mantle hotspot, which bubbled up out of the ocean, much like how the Hawaiian Islands were formed. Speaking of islands, the highest point of the country isn't even on the Iberian Peninsula, but rather the Canary Islands, part of the larger subregion known as Macaronesia, with Mount Teide, which is actually the third highest volcano in the world from its base. Back to the mainland though, the highest mountain on continental Spain would be Mulhacén, at nearly 3,500 meters high. From there, the longest river, shared with Portugal, is the Tagus or Tejo. However, the longest river entirely in Spain is the Ebro. Now, most of the inland bodies of water are reservoirs blocked up by dams.
I knew a lot about this stuff because of, I took a little associate degree on wine. And when you learn about Spanish wine, you have to learn kind of sort of the geography of Spain. So I knew the name of some of the provinces, or well, autonomous communities. So, that's good.
On rivers. However, the largest natural freshwater lake would be Lake Sanabria in the northwest. Finally, Spain has 3 main climate zones on the continental part. The areas in the south have a warm, dry Mediterranean climate. The central Meseta Plateau has hot summers and cold winters. And the North Cantabrian Mountains have a maritime climate with the most rain year-round and snowfall in the winter.
So an extra side note, after Malta, Spain is the sunniest country in Europe, like 260 days a year.
That's hot.
Yeah, that's hot.
Now, with all these rugged lands, Spain hosts a wide range of flora and fauna, differing by region.
For example, the Canary Islands, you have the black sand beaches and the ancient tropical Lora Silva. It's only found in Macaronesia.
Otherwise, on the peninsula, you have everything ranging from green hills that look like Scotland in the north
to the shrubby, rocky Arizona-like deserts of the south.
Within these wide-ranged zones, you have tons of natural treasures like caves, canyons, and even a river that flows orange and red.
Agriculture-wise, they are the second largest producer of wine after Italy, and the largest producer of olive oil in the world.
Oh, and fun side note, when they cook, only about 40% of Spanish homes have direct gas lines installed, and the rest usually have gas tanks delivered, right?
Yeah. Bombonas. Now we all know that despite having the 13th largest nominal GDP in the world, Spain has had quite a reputation.
That's a very Mexican thing, having the mobile gas tanks. A lot of the nicer areas, or mostly in the cities, have like the regular gas service, but it's a very Mexican thing to have your gas tank delivered. I guess now I know, right, where it comes from.
It's rather, how can I put this?
Recessive tendencies? Yes, during the financial crisis, Spain was hit hard for about 6 years during 2008, and in 2014 they reached the height at about 27.2% unemployment.
There are a lot of factors that went into this, but it kind of went...
How can we grow our economy?
We need to build a lot of stuff.
Okay. What's the problem?
The banks.
What if we just let the banks report what they wanted and not regulate them as much?
That's a great idea. Nothing could go wrong.
That's what I'm saying.
And it did. Perfect storm. And due to this lack of accountability, experts speculate that somewhere upwards to 1/5 of the total GDP is somehow tied in with the undisclosed transaction industry, black market, second only to Italy.
No, proud of that.
You guys probably have a lot to say about that.
No surprise, Spain
Galicia
is known for being the main port of entry for the European cocaine trade.
A fun little fact, did you guys know that over 90% of euros that are transacted in Spain have trace amounts of cocaine on them?
90? Like 90?
Over 90%, yes. There was a study in Valencia's science community. But anyway.
I mean, that's a known little fact. It's very similar with the US dollar and basically every currency in the world, It's not that big of a deal.
Spain is the 5th largest producer of wind energy in the world.
We even have the world's largest renewable energy operator, Iberdrola.
We are the 8th largest automobile producer in the world and 2nd largest manufacturer in Europe after Germany.
We even have some of the domestic brands like Seat,
which is actually a subsidiary of Volkswagen, but let them have that one.
And the incredibly rare, limited, produce an expensive GTA Hispano.
What else is rare in this country? Some of the animal species. And with that, here's Gary Harlow to explain.
Right, Scary Hollow here. In Europe,
Who's this?
Spain and
Who's this fool? What happened with Barbs? Man, I haven't watched... Honestly, right? I haven't watched Geography Now in a while. Why? I don't know. I've been watching them for a very long time. I think since the B countries. So, after they reached Mexico, which was the country that I was expecting the most, obviously, I have a reaction on my YouTube. I just sort of stopped. Oh, God. You know what? Okay, guys. I'm so sorry about this. But I need to do something. I think my stream has no title. Oh, there's one viewer. Howdy, whoever you are. Oh, there you go. GG. Uh, React. Okay, I'm just changing the title of the stream. So hold up. Mexican. There we go. That's perfect. Okay, beautiful. Yeah. I'm sorry about that, guys. Let's continue.
Italy usually rank in the top 2.
Either way, we were talking about this guy, but you know, hey, if he does his job correctly,
Adding
God bless him.
biodiversity. I mean, they've got tropical forests to desert, so there's lots of wildlife real estate. The country hosts 16 national parks, the largest one being the Sierra Nevada.
Is he faking an Australian accent? I don't know. You guys tell me if this guy is really Australian or he's just faking it.
In the south. Like Portugal, they share the same type of famous Iberian animals here, like the Spanish ibex and the wild boar. However, they're known for the Spanish Big Five: the bearded vulture, the Iberian lynx, the Iberian wolf, the imperial eagle, and the Eurasian brown bear. The national animal, however, is the bull. Some might say the Hispanic lion. Some historians claim that they might have inhabited southern Europe. It's in dispute. Lots of reptiles are endemic too, especially on the island regions. The Canary Islands have about 5 native species of gecko. Blah, 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 blah. That was a very good impression of a gecko. Otherwise, as a country that's in the path of migratory birds from Africa to southern Europe, there's over 630 bird species. Speaking of migration, I've got to migrate out here, fading into the distance.
Thanks, Gary. Now we're about to talk about the food
See
of
ya.
Spain, but before we do, you have to understand there's a few things. What is food culture in Spain to you guys? What does that mean? What does it entail?
Every meal kind of blends into the
Blends.
following meal.
Next one. There's like a whole system, right? It starts with breakfast, maybe some churros and chocolate, and then what?
Have un aperitivo.
And then you have lunch, and lunch normally ends up with what we call sobremesa, that it's like just talk.
But you stay at the table.
And you stay at the table. You don't have to go out of the bar, or even if you're in a house. And then...
Merienda, which is a little snack we have in the afternoon before dinner.
So that's why we have dinner at 10 p.m.
It just keeps going. You
Never stop. Never
We
stop.
eat and then eat again and then maybe go, dancing or something.
But while you're dancing, you also eat. You gotta do flamenco with some...
Probably. Fun fact, Spain is one of the countries in the world that has more bars per citizen.
And you can even get beer in McDonald's, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, that was so impactful when I came here.
Anyway, and with that, here's some food stuff with, guess who's back? Noah.
Food! Prior to the 15th century, Europeans had no idea that things like chocolate, corn, tomatoes, potatoes, avocados, or sugar even...
Yeah, you know where that stuff comes from? That's right, baby. It comes from Mexico. And, well, other parts of the Americas, but they don't really matter. You know, it's so funny. When I go to the U.S., every Hispanic is like Mexican. And Americans don't really care that much about, Colombian or Mexican, like, where's the difference, right? So, hey, at least we're the dominant Hispanic group in the world.
Europeans had no idea that things like chocolate, corn, tomatoes, potatoes, avocados, and sugar even existed. Through the Spanish trade routes, the rest of the world was introduced to these items, and now you can have things like pizza and fries. Great items.
Pizza? You gotta thank the Mexicans. Again, that's us. That's us, man.
In any case, every region of Spain has a different
You're welcome.
style of cuisine, and the gastronomy is top-notch, world-renowned. We don't have time to explain them all, but some dishes you guys, Spanish geography, so that every Spaniard will most likely
Tapas
have
are so
access
good.
to include things like gazpacho, torreznos, churros, croquetas, lechazo, cochinillo, arroz a la zamorana, hornazo, jamón, fideuá, cocido, and tortilla. This is not the same as a tortilla in Latin America, though. This is a potato and egg dish.
And it's so good. It's kind of like hash brown. Would that be a fair comparison to hash brown? Or hash brown is only potato? I don't really remember, but there's definitely an American version. Here in Mexico, we just call it Spanish tortilla.
Dish. And probably the most world-renowned dish, paella, originated in Valencia, and they are strict with the way that it is made. They hate it when this happens.
Hey, can I have some of that paella? I've heard so much about it.
Yeah, sure. It comes with extra mussels and shrimp, because that's...
And by the way, I don't want to be a snob, but the way you pronounce it is paella. Just leaving it out there.
paella.
It does?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure, whatever,
Gosh,
just take
it's
it.
so weird.
The true way to make it is either with rabbit or chicken. Otherwise, Valencians will call all the imposters arroz con cosas, or rice with things. Well, that's all I got for you today. Until next time.
Don't eat a paella in Madrid or Barcelona, but to eat the real one, go to Valencia. And probably after this, many people is gonna want to kill me. I just buried myself.
Fun fact, sherry was also invented here, as was the Molotov cocktail, which played a huge role in the Spanish Civil War. Let's talk about the Spanish people now, shall we?
Now, as I mentioned, there's a lot of different types of people in Spain, and they all kind of have their own thing going on.
In a way, we have this kind of quiet acknowledgement that unity doesn't mean uniformity.
What do you guys think? Like, do you guys generally get along?
I mean, if you ask every country, hey, do your country's regions get along? The answer is always, you know, I guess in Spain, it's similar to Italy in the way that north and south are very different economically, the way people look, right? In the north of Italy, people are not only wealthier, but they are whiter. No, but not whiter. Like blonde hair, blue eyes, while in southern Italy, they're very like me, right? Like olive skin and like darker. I think it's similar in Spain, right? Someone from Andalusia is going to be darker and dark hair, while someone in the north might be, you know, like this girl who's, you know, sort of light-haired and y'all know.
Yes, but...
Yes?
Yes. There's like these stereotypes, things that, oh, he probably is this way because he's from this place, or he's probably, you know?
I'll say when I've met Spanish people outside of Spain, we all love Spain and love everyone. It's just when we're in Spain, we love to, you know, talk to each other.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, with that, let's talk about the people of Spain in the graph.
First of all, Spain has about 48 million people and is the 5th most populous country in Europe and has the highest life expectancy in the OECD countries. The country is made up predominantly by people that identify as native Spaniard at about 88%. Keep in mind this label is very broad and pretty much pertains to a wide range of people with different physical traits, but mostly with a South European Mediterranean background in their racial makeup. Geneticists also have determined that the average Spaniard, especially in the South, has around 5% North African ancestry due to the Moorish conquests that took.
That is true. That is also true for Mexico. This is also a well-known fact that most Mexicans have, you know, they have some North African in them. And again, particularly if you have DNA coming from Europe, so let's say me, right, for example, it's likely that I have also Arab or North African heritage. And, you know, I've been asked before, hey, you kind of look like you're like Middle Eastern. So maybe that's why I really want to do a DNA test, but I don't know if they ship them to Mexico.
Took over the country for 7 centuries. The remaining 12% of the country is made up of various immigrant groups that have settled over the centuries, the largest ones being Latin Americans at about 5%,
Oh, really?
North Africans and Eastern Europeans at about 2% each, and the remaining 3% from other places around the world like Asia and whatever.
All right, so the official language of Spain is, shocker, Spanish, but specifically Castilian or Castellano Spanish.
Yeah, of course we have Spain Spanish dialect, which sounds a bit different than Latin American Spanish.
Now keep in mind,
A
most
little
Latin American
bit.
Spanish is heavily influenced by the Andalusian dialect of Spanish, as many people from those areas moved and migrated to the Americas. Long story short, what's the easiest way to piss off a Spaniard?
Vale, voy a empezar mi nuevo proyecto en mi nuevo ordenador. Elige el idioma inglés, no. Francés, no. Español. ¿Alguien me puede explicar por qué está español con la bandera mexicana? ¿Alguien podría explicarme por qué? Porque el español de Europa es el español.
Hey, it's not Mexico's fault they became a big deal.
Yeah, we became a big deal. We kind of are a big deal. No, but in all seriousness, again, it's pretty funny. It's kind of the same thing with Portuguese, and you see the Brazilian flag, right? Or British, and you see the American flag.
Deal in the Hispanic world.
Anyway, on top of that, despite Spanish being the national language, they have 3 other regionally co-official languages that are allowed to be publicly used and published alongside Spanish.
So we have
Catalan,
Catalan,
of course.
Galician, Basque, But Basque is a language, like it's isolate. Historically, no one knows where it comes from and doesn't have anything to do with Latin or any other language.
There's also other minority Romance languages like Asturleonese and Aragonese, but very few people speak them and they don't really pursue to officiate them.
And there's other offshoot languages like Ladino, spoken by the Sephardic Jewish community.
The coolest language fact though is that on the island of Gomera in the Canary Islands, they use Silbo Gomero, which is taught in schools. It's a language completely composed of whistles. Here's a clip if you want to hear some.
I didn't know that.
You didn't even know that? Yeah, oh, we're all learning. Yeah, we could talk about language stuff in Spain all for hours. It's crazy, but we gotta move on.
Historically, the Catholic faith played a huge role in our identity, despite the fact that today only about 2/3 of the country, to some degree, might say that they are very less nominally identify as Catholic. And the rest of the 20% of the population goes to church.
But for what it's worth, we have the Camino de Santiago, one of the largest Catholic pilgrimages in the world.
The interesting thing, though, is that there is noticeable traces of Moorish Arabic influence as well. Everything from architecture and even the names of cities, for example.
You know that this girl is kind of struggling while she's reading the prompter.
With Al.
It's even how Andalusia got its name from the Arabic Al-Andalus, and today there's even noticeable words borrowed from Arabic in the Spanish language like tata or azúcar.
That was great.
You got it?
Yeah, this is also a well-known fact. And even I remember my language teacher told us that like it's something like 5 to 10% of the words, like pantalón, which is the word you use for your pants, or ojalá, that's a big one, and includes ala. Ojalá, includes ala, and that word ojalá, it kind of means like I hope for, or I wish, or something like that. Like I wish this happens, ojalá this happens, right? And it comes from the translation would be the wish of Allah, or under the wish of Allah, which is the Muslim God. So yeah, interesting stuff.
Now, in regards to Spain's impact on the world, it's nothing short of massive. At one point, we had 35 colonies across the world.
And today there are 19 sovereign Spanish-speaking countries, plus Puerto Rico, that all have a story rooted from Spain.
Yeah, you guys have a long history of Latin America. What do they think of Spanish people?
They love Europe in general. It's like, oh, Europe.
So that's a question I gotta answer because I'm a Latin American. Bro, honestly, I think most people really don't care about like what happened before. Like nobody really cares. Like you don't see people holding a grudge, and I think this happens everywhere where there's a colony, or at least like the old colonies. Like America, Australia, Latin America. Like we don't have any beef. Most of us really acknowledge that Spain is sort of like our dad. And we all, in a way, as countries aspire to be like Spain, become wealthier, become more developed. So many things from our culture come from Spain. Our language, our food is heavily influenced from Spain, our religion, and we've modified it, and, we've made Catholicism in a Mexican way. We've made Spanish food, we've transformed it into a more Mexican way. Our language, we've added that Mexican spice. Yet, the base is Spanish. And genetically, the language, the religion, it all comes back to Spain. And we owe them so much, but at the same time, we forgive, but we don't forget. And it's also well known that they commit atrocities to the people here, and they stole a lot of silver and gold. And, that's most of the people know that, and most of the people will tell you that. But again, people don't really hold a grudge. We love Spanish people. I think we're very similar, and we love to party hard and work just as harder. So, yeah, if anyone's from Spain, I love you, and please invite me to Ibiza. So let's continue watching.
So I don't know. But at the same time, they have some other thoughts about that, like we are lazy or
a lot of people, especially in South America, that think of us as very structured or like what Spanish people think of Germans almost.
Oh.
Exactly.
Which is really weird for us.
So they kind of think you guys are like the Germans of the Hispanic world.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then in
Yeah,
Europe
that is
we
true.
are like
Bankrupt.
Not that. Generalizing though. Not everyone
Generalizing.
thinks that,
But in regards to Spain's, impact on the world, yes, we've heard the stories. Colonialism was riddled in lots of tragedy. Many wars and battles were fought. Many died. Diseases were spread. No denying these terrible historical incidents. But, and this might be one of the most hard pill to swallow, controversial things I'll ever say on this show, given the current social climate that we live in, but you have to kind of see colonialism in all vantage points throughout its manifestation. In a weird way, many of the things that you hold dear today and the people that you admire and the ideas that change the world may have never come about without ties to colonialism too. It's a weird paradox of chronological exchanges throughout history. I mean, for example, the wheel and beasts of burden, like horses and cattle, were brought over to the Americas. Remember in the Peru episode, we explained how the only domesticated animal that could remotely help carry cargo was the llama, and it could only carry like 80 pounds. Otherwise, people just kind of walked to get around.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would deny that the Colombian exchange was one of the biggest things to ever happen, and it's so important both to the old world or Europe or Eurasia, whatever you want to see it as, and the Americas. And it's so important for both of us that, again, Europe wouldn't be what it is without the Americas, and the Americas wouldn't be what it is if it weren't from Europe. So, take it for what it is, guys. Don't hold a grudge. I mean, it already happened hundreds of years ago, so
around. See, like that. History kind of has a weird way of showing you that nothing ever is completely what you think it is, and over time it kind of evolves into something you probably never saw coming. Yes, everyone likes to condemn past tragedies, but you also have to acknowledge that it's possible for a rose to grow from concrete. Like the invention of the first artificial heart in Argentina to, I don't know, Vicente Fernandez and Shakira. That's my little brief postulation on the topic. Take it as you will. I'm just saying, see before you decree.
that was intense.
Yeah.
I like that you said it.
In a way, it's hard to judge that era with today's standards, and that gets really tricky.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this for years, and I know what's coming.
The Spanish people and our backstory have so many diverse layers.
And luckily, we made a video explaining all about those various groups and nationalities of Spain, so just check it out right here. Click on it.
Let's chill a little bit and have some fun. Let's talk. We also have art and sports and many other good things. So
art with the sports part.
No.
There's another guy.
Here's your trophy.
This is my trophy for existing. I love it. But that's besides the point. All right, sports in Spain.
What's
so without
going
saying
on,
much,
man?
most of you will automatically default to
Where's the old school Barb's video? The old school geography now videos with the shitty camera and Barb's clearly very nervous. What happened to that? Where is that? Now you have a bunch of people just helping around.
football. Yes, we all know that soccer is practically a religion in Spain. Their national team has qualified for the FIFA Cup 15 times, hosted in 1982 and won against the Netherlands in 2010. And of course, everybody knows about the huge rivalry between Barcelona and Real Madrid. Which team are you on? But soccer isn't everything for Spain. Fun fact, their men's roller hockey team scored 16 gold medals. Everybody knows Rafael Nadal's Wimbledon championship in 2008 and 2010. Their national basketball team has won 1 World and 2 Eurobasket championships. Aside from all the contemporary sports, Spain also has a rich culture of domestically produced sports. Everything from petanque to Canarian-style wrestling. I could fight a canary. I bet you I could beat it.
I don't know, man. Those things are fast.
The Basque Country, though, has the most native sports out of anywhere else in Spain. You have things like jayalai, stone lifting, hole drilling, wood chopping. That's my sport right there, wood chopping. In fact, Basque Country is where the running of the bulls happens. It's not really a sport, it's more of a festival, but they love it. And there's been 15 recorded deaths, but they still love it. And finally, I know you were thinking about it. I was thinking about it. Spanish bullfighting, or corrida de toros. The sport dates all the way back to Roman times. Bullfighting is kind of seen as a performance art mixed with a sport. The matador attempts to subdue, immobilize, or kill the bull in the arena. The Arabs, the Catholics, the frickin' Bourbons, they all tried to ban it, but it kept coming back. In recent years, the sport has yet again been met with a lot of backlash. In fact, it was completely banned in Catalonia in 2010. Well, I'm gonna get out of here.
Yeah, that's sort of controversial. I don't know what to say about it, because the truth is I don't really care. Bullfighting is also fairly popular in Mexico. Like, people go to see bullfighting. Is it true that it's brutal and it's beyond animal abuse? Well, yeah. But you also gotta understand that there's a lot more to it. I mean, it's a cultural thing, so I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. The truth is, I really don't care. But how do you guys feel about it? What do you guys think? It'd be interesting to read all the comments.
And you know what? I'm proud of this trophy.
Thank you, Art.
Yeah, people in Spain are pretty active.
Which is actually kind of funny considering that you guys have that whole siesta culture thing, and you guys are known for being lazy. Like,
oh, come on! But I love it.
I haven't taken a siesta in 2 years.
Yeah, but that's because you lived here.
I took a siesta like this morning, so you know, it is what it is, Spain.
No, but we are not lazy, guys, okay?
Also, siesta doesn't make you lazy.
It recharges you.
Doesn't recharge you, no. You wake up worse than you went to sleep.
Wow, that's only in Valencia.
Meanwhile,
that's only in Valencia. Speaking of stereotypes, what about the whole like nudity thing?
I thought that was something normal in the rest of the world. On the beach. No one pays attention to that. It's not anything weird, but we don't go naked through the street. Like.
Right. So, in conclusion, stereotype debunked. Nudity is not legal in Spain, but it's okay in some beaches. All right, enough culture talk. Now we gotta move on to Hannah. That's her segment. So now here's Hannah with culture stuff.
Hi guys, it is good to be back. And remember that you can get a Random Hannah t-shirt at geographynow.com. It has my face on it, and it's better than Keith. Ernest Hemingway once said, "There is no nightlife in Spain. They stay up late and they get up late." That is not nightlife. That is delaying the day. Interestingly enough, they have one of the highest life expectancies in the world. Maybe night parties do the trick. In any case, Spain has been a front runner in arts and literature. So many people like these have made internationally famous pieces of literature. None more famous than Miguel de Cervantes' Don Quixote. In addition, so many world-renowned artists have come from Spain, including the Spanish Trinity, Pablo Picasso, Diego Velázquez, and Francisco Goya. He has some really dark works because he went deaf, and the Spanish Inquisition really hated it. But of course, you cannot forget Antoni Gaudi's architecture and surrealist Salvador Dali, literally buried in his own museum.
Literally my favorite artist of all time.
Spain is a hub of many inventions, such as...
Yeah, what the hell, Spain? You truly have a shit ton of artists and very important people on like literature, and you know, Don Quixote is like a must read in Mexico in a lot of schools. I don't know if in all schools, but I think I read it like twice. I mean, that's how important that book is in Mexico, and I guess in the Hispanic world.
The spacesuit, the stapler, the predecessor to the helicopter, the gyroplane, the wheelchair, glasses, foosball, and the discovery of the elements, tungsten, vanadium, and platinum. Now, just very quickly, let's talk about some cinema stuff. Explore the political climate with movies like Pan's Labyrinth, which is actually a Mexican movie, but does explore some aspects of Spanish culture and the Spanish Civil War. Take a tour of the beautiful Basque country by watching the movie Ocho Apellidos Vascos. I hope I'm saying that right. Was that right?
Good enough.
If you want to take a trip back to the Middle Ages and explore Spain's royalty culture, you can watch Juana la Loca, and everybody knows the famous actresses that came out of Spain like Antonio Banderas, Penelope Cruz, Javier Bardem. Anyways, you get the point. There is way too much film history to get into right now, but if you want to learn more, watch Filmography Now, guys, the first official spin-off channel of Geography Now.
And it has a spin-off.
Ding, 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 ding. And finally, Spain is the land of festivals. Literally, every day you can find something happening in some part of Spain. You've probably heard of La Tomatina, La Faria in April, Semana Santa, and one thing that unifies the Spaniards is music. Unfortunately, Keith has made his way back from Florida to Los Angeles. I don't know what to do with myself. I thought he was gone forever, and he's freaking back. Here to do the music segment. You guys kind of like him, so here he is. Whatever. Have fun.
I'm back in the studio. My segment kicks, not her segment. By the way, everybody, over the years, I've worn Rush shirts many times. Everybody knows Rush is my favorite band, blah, 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 Rush, don't sue, whatever. Anyways, so fun fact, and since I have such a love affair with guitars and things with strings, especially G strings, haha, but, The modern classical guitar was actually invented in Spain. This is actually a steel string. Spain is one of the very few countries that actually has no words in their national anthem. Each region of Spain actually has its own traditional style of music. The most well-known style of music that everybody around the world probably knows is flamenco music. Predominantly founded in the southern region of Spain and mostly the city of Seville. Highly recommend checking out Paco de Lucia, who's a phenomenal flamenco guitar player. I would have to explain flamenco music as a finger style on guitar. So, for example, said acoustic guitar, if you take these regions in Spain, either are
I'm sorry, I'm just really not into this.
La Pantoja, Joaquin Sabina, Rosalia, she's won like a bunch of Grammys. I don't know.
Oh, really? Like, wow, Rosalia is from Spain. I didn't know that. I thought she was, I don't know, Hispanic. I don't know, from somewhere else.
He cheated on me. And then I'm just all like, whoa. So that's it for me, you guys. I would just like to say thanks to Paul Barbato for flying me out to here to LA.
So glad to have you back, Keith.
Oh my God, it's great to be back. Woo. I missed In-N-Out and all of the glorious fast food that
I miss In-N-Out so badly, bro. I went to In-N-Out, the one that's in Katy, Texas. Gosh, bro, it's so good. I also went to one in San Diego. Bro, it's so good. What's the secret? I hope, seriously, if someone who's thinking about buying a franchise in Mexico, try to get an In-N-Out here. Like, it's a necessity at this point.
Thank you, Keith. All right, and with that, it's time to move on to the friend zone, shall we?
Oh, this is gonna be interesting.
All right, so Jose, Anna, how do you feel about the way how Spain interacts with the rest of the world?
Because of the language, I feel like we might feel closer to Latin American countries for the most part.
People think that we are not that good at English. And okay, I probably have shown in this video that I'm not that good at English. I'm sorry, I just had a long day, okay?
You're doing great, you're doing great.
It's harder for us because we come from a Latin language.
Yeah.
So a German person is gonna be able to understand and learn faster English than us. So
obviously Spain has a huge impact on the world.
So first off, of course, in Africa, it's interesting. The area of Western Sahara used to be a Spanish colony, which is now de facto run by Morocco, but with a dispute with the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic. Although Spain has never formally recognized the SADR, Spain does host a noticeable community of Sahrawi people on the Canary Islands, and on top of that, the whole Ceuta and Melilla thing kind of irks Morocco just a bit, to say the least. Nonetheless, they try to keep things cordial, and every new prime minister usually makes a trip to Morocco for their first diplomatic mission abroad. Otherwise, they have very close relations with their former colonies. The closest probably being Argentina, as they have the largest diaspora of Spaniards outside of Spain with almost 500,000. And it's well known throughout the Latin world that Argentina probably has the biggest crush on Spain, so the more they get time with them, the better. Cuba and Venezuela are high up on the list too, Cuba being the last American colony to gain independence, and they have always been fond of Spain's values. Venezuela specifically has very close ties to the Canary Islands. They even speak almost with the exact same accent, and half of everybody on the islands have friends or family in Venezuela. Back to Europe though. Andorra is like the Beverly Hills where the Spaniards move when they hit it big and want to hide their money. However, if we're gonna get really personal, Portugal is like the little brother they have shared every moment of their history with. And they love to see him try. Like, whenever Portugal accomplishes anything, Spain is their #1 cheerleader. Like, Spain knows they are 4 times bigger and have a way heavier socioeconomic impact on Europe and the world. So of course, let adorable Portugal have a Ronaldo or Magellan. They deserve some spotlight. Spain can't have it all. When it comes to their best friends, however, literally almost every single Spaniard I have talked to has said the same country, Italy. It's no shocker. When a Spaniard and Italian meet, there is an instant connection. They just share the same South Latin vibe and code of conduct that goes back millennia to the Roman Empire. They can easily learn each other's languages, they approve of the other's food and music, they both laugh at stories of crazy dictatorships and underground mafia drama over a glass of wine. In the end, evidently, Spain and Italy are the kings and queens of South Europe.
All right, and in conclusion, I think you guys should take it away. I'm out.
We are welcoming, and the cool thing about Spain is like you have many different cultures within the same country, so you can live completely different experiences. We like to party. That I'm not gonna say no.
Wrong with that.
We love that because we are social people. I think that's something that we need.
A lot of those things I took for granted being in Spain, the rich diversity or, you know, welcoming nature. And once I moved out, which more than 10 years ago, that's when I really started realizing how lucky we are to be from Spain. Yeah, have some real paella.
And
real.
Oh my God!
Thank you guys so much for being in this episode. And with that, stay tuned. Sri Lanka is coming up next.
Wow, that was quite a thing. You know, Spain is obviously an incredibly important place for Mexican culture.